Hey everybody, Lee from PcjunkieMods here. So today I want to give a little update. In the near future, most likely next week sometime or the week after, I want to start live streaming. My plan is to live stream my builds. It might be a 2-day live stream because the last thing I want to do is keep you in a live stream for 12 hours, you know. So most likely the first stream would be your basics, test fitting everything to make sure it's going to work in the case, making modifications that need to be made, let's say bending tubes for the water cooling, whatever it may be. Basic layout and setup for the case. The second day would be the finished product. We're going to put it together, we're going to water cool it. At the end we'll have a finished PC. So I'm hoping that these live streams won't be any more than 4 hours. Obviously it takes longer than that to build a fully decked out custom PC. So most of the modifications that I need to do, I'll do off camera because there's no point in me showing you how to grind away on something or drill a hole or whatever. If it's a quick, easy fix, I'll do it in front of the camera, but I'm not going to move my live stream to, you know, to my workshop where I would do all that cutting and stuff. So the live stream will be set up right here at this table. I've already done some kind of test runs. I'll have 3 cameras. I'll have an overhead of one in front of me, and then I'll also have a camera here on the table with me so I can kind of move it so you guys can see what I'm doing. So that's kind of the idea for the live stream. I've been trying to do this for a while now. It's taken some time to get all the proper equipment and make sure it's going to work because I'll be switching between cameras. So I wanted to get a switcher that was going to work properly. And thanks to my partner now, I think I have everything we need. So with that being said, what I need from you is some input. I need to know when and what days, so like the time and days of when you would want to see a stream. And the reason I'm coming to my YouTube subscribers is because of the fact that you guys have been there since day one. So I wanted to put this out on YouTube before it went anywhere else. I didn't want to live stream it. I wanted to do this the right way because you guys are my fan base. So let me know in the comments what days work best for you guys, what times are the best times, so that way I can take the overall census and figure it out. So since I got you here, I got something here that I'm going to show you. We're doing a video, might as well make it a good video. What I have here in front of me is the Singularity Computers Spectre 2.0. So I've looked around on the web on how to put this together and all that kind of jazz. I mean, it does come with a manual and the manual is great, but I kind of wanted feedback as well. So I've been back and forth with Daniel and some of his people over there. So my idea here is to help the individuals that buy one of these and build it. And you know what? If you're in the market for the most over-the-top chassis, I'd have to say this is it. Yes, it's got a hefty price tag, but you know what? Nothing about this is cheap. This is some heavy acrylic here. As you can see, this is the main manifold here for the chassis. It'll come to you just like this, but it will have the brackets on it. I've taken off the brackets. I've taken out the power button and LED just because I already did a basic assembly because I don't want to look like a jackass on camera. So my overall thoughts, this thing is over the top. It's extreme. It is awesome. So with that being said, let's check it out. So first off, what I wanted to talk about is not only along with the quality, I want to talk about quality, but I want to talk about how this actually arrived to me. Now, I don't think I've ever seen anybody pack something up like this. And if I'm not mistaken, everything that Singularity Computer sends out comes this way. Just to give you an idea, every single piece here on the table was individually wrapped with this type of foam. You know, just a layer of foam all the way around so nothing could bang into each other or scratch each other. But not only that, the outside of the case probably had about $50 worth of bubble wrap around it. Or the box, outside of the box, I should say. So that'll give you an idea. So not only do you have the outside wrapped with bubble wrap, on the inside, this was wrapped in bubble wrap. The window was wrapped in bubble wrap. All the big pieces were wrapped in bubble wrap. And then you have the individual foam that was wrapped around everything as well. So with that being said, let's talk about quality. Quality, I mean, I think it's like $1,200 is retail for these chassis. There's no sharp corners on this. I mean, this is like super professionally done. There is no sharp corners. This is all metal. I think the only acrylic you have is the actual manifold, which is the motherboard tray and everything else holder. And for this one, we have the Elite pack, which I'll show you in a bit. But yeah, I mean, this solid aluminum, perfect, nothing here, cheap, no corners cut. Okay, so another thing I wanted to talk about is the manual. So the instruction manual for the Spectre is pretty straightforward. And the reason I want to talk about the manual is because I'm a guy who never reads manuals, okay, until I've come to the point where I can't go any further. Now, I'm going to have to tell you this from my point of view. You need to read this manual because I've already read it 3 times. And it's not that you got to read it, you just need to look through it, you know, and follow the procedures, what's in here. It tells you everything that comes with, it tells you the specs of the chassis, it shows you a parts list of all the products that are in here, and then it gets to assembly. So there's what they call shipping pre-assembly, which is the manifold, the motherboard tray, the main part of the chassis. It already has, like I said, the brackets already installed on it, which has the power button on it and so forth. This piece here, I've already attached the top bracket. This is the top one. So this edge, this 90 here, was pre-installed on the chassis, so you have to remove it to install the top plate. Same with the front. They're pretty much the same installation. The good thing is when you come to, let's say we're doing the PSU case assembly right now. It tells you everything that's needed, and the awesome part about this is every bag with every screw in it has a marking on it. So I'm going to pick one up. This one is 2A, and it tells you, you know, 8 pieces, 6/32, 5/8, hex drive round head. Well, 2A is actually for our second step. So it's labeled 1 for step 1, 2 for step 2, so on and so forth. So pretty straightforward. So now what I want to show you guys is the Elite kit. So the chassis comes with this. If you just buy the chassis, this is the actual front piece here. We're not going to be using that. This is the replacement piece. So this piece, actually the biggest difference obviously is this, and it is a little bit longer than the other one. Then you have a spacer. This spacer is the piece that goes on the outside of the front piece, just like so. Another manifold. This is the Elite package. So this will actually go on the outside of this. Behind it will be your fans. You can position your radiator to be below these 2 ports here, or you could have it all the way up. But obviously if you have it all the way up, you're going to block the ports, so you need to slide the radiator down. So another thing that I would recommend, because there's a lot of screws involved here, and this is needs to be watertight, I would just go ahead and double check that nothing vibrated loose during shipping. So what you got here is your reservoir built in, your pump attaches to the bottom here. You have a fill port, which is on the back side here. I was just showing it to you because you could see it from there. But here's a fill and a drain. So that's perfect for maintenance, because maintenance is always a concern when you're installing water-cooled system. Now, for the most part, you have your motherboard tray. Obviously is this little area. It kind of makes your motherboard look like it's suspended, which is pretty epic. Then it has cable channels. As you can see, there's a channel here, there's a channel here, and then for your 8 pins up here. And your wires will go into this channel here because they have the combs already built into there. As you can see, there's a comb there, a comb here, combs across the bottom here, so on and so forth all the way around. This is set up for dual 8s, so hopefully you have a motherboard that has dual 8s, and then you run both. Other words, you're going to have to take your wires and spread them out. That way you kind of fill it all up, because I think it looks best when it's full. It looks like they may have added a little bit extra here in case like you got to run a couple SATA plugs or something like that. For the most part, SATA or USB 3.0 if you were going to add that to the chassis, because this doesn't have any, it just has the power button on the front. I think there's an option you can buy upgrades. But anyway, so then you got a couple different ports here. You got one up here that comes across to here, and then you got this one up here and here. So this is the out, because you have a pump here. So if you're filling it here, the liquid's going to come down into the reservoir and come into the bottom of the pump, and the pump's going to shoot it out down here. this will come out and you can go either to your CPU or your GPU, depends. It does look like they routed out this top edge here, and then it has a little notch here. So my thoughts are that it must be for fans. So I'm thinking that you could either run your fan wire in here, because the whole idea here is to not have any wires anywhere. No unnecessary wires, right? Because this power button here comes down to the bottom. During assembly I'll show you, but there's a little plate that goes across there that hides those wires and the pump wire. So everything's designed to hide wires, so you don't have wires running, you know, from up here across your acrylic setup and your cool looking liquid into your motherboard. So I'm gonna have to do some magic with the fans up here, so that way I only have one wire coming out instead of three. All right, so we're gonna do the assembly now. So first thing we're gonna do is move some stuff out of my way. And for the most part, I have tools already set up. So you basically only need some Allen keys. Turn this around so it's facing me. We're gonna go ahead and just do it step by step. So we're gonna jump to the first step, which is the leg installation. I'll put that right there. So you just take these, basically what I've discovered is with the panel laying down like this, since it's so heavy, your best bet is to try to slide the legs underneath it like so. Set the panel on it. Try not to rub the leg against the panel as you're sliding it under there, because it is acrylic and it will scratch. All right, here we go. We're good. So now what I need is 1C, 1A, and 1B. So those should all be the ones over there. Go ahead and move some more stuff here. All right, so this is quarter 20 by 1 5/8. So quarter 20 by 1 5/8 is 1C, which 1C is the top two. One A goes in the middle. Goes to the middle, and the bottom on the right leg. All right, so now that we got those in, I think this is the screw, the head that I need, yes. All right, so the second step of step one is to install the PSU bracket support. So that goes right here. So it's just this little metal piece. It's gonna go here, and this is why I didn't put the screws in there, because this is 1B. And what I do is I pull it to the edge, so that way it's where it should be. All right, so that's step one. So I'm gonna go ahead and stand this sucker up. So step two is gonna be installing the front plate and top plate. So for step two, I'm gonna need all the step two screws, which are 2A, B, and C, and also the screws that I pulled out, which are the long, I wanna say they're 6/32, but I think they're actually M4s. So those pieces actually hold the brackets to the top and to the front. Now when I say the bracket, I mean this piece where your fans would mount to and such. So this is kind of a little, it's almost like you need 4 hands to do this, but it is doable because I was able to do it. So I'm gonna pull these guys back out. And I'm not gonna put all the screws in per se for the camera. I'm just gonna put the end 2 screws in just to show you, because I do have to take this back apart. And I do recommend doing the installation of these. I know the first thought is to take this top plate and front plate and put your radiator on it and your fans and stuff. But in my opinion, I would not do that because it makes it very complicated to get to the screws when you do that, because I already did that. All right, so what I'll do is put this guy in here and this guy in here. All right, so now the fun part is to line these up without pushing the other one out. Okay, so for normal assembly, basically what you'd be doing is you'd be taking the screws for, so this would be 4 times 2A and 2B. So the 2A would be, I think, the screw, and 2B would be the nut. Well, there's a bag here that's got a bunch of acorn nuts in it, or cap nuts, and then obviously you'd be taking your screws, and that'd be the 4 screws across the top. I only have 2 installed, and obviously you didn't see me install that because I'm doing this kind of in a little bit backwards order, because I had already assembled this, and it's kind of, to cut time for the camera, I left it pre-assembled. The other one is not pre-assembled, so I'll go ahead and show you that one. But the trick to this is we're going to be doing the the Elite kit, so we're not going to actually be using the original top or front. We're going to be using the Elite one. Okay. So that goes like that. I have to go back over here because I need some parts. And we got screws.
And rolling.
You see what I mean? It's like scary short. All right, so that's lined up. So now we would put that on the chassis. So let me grab 2 more long screws. All right, so now you'll need this other plate here. And I want to keep everything kind of flow together. So obviously the exposed, I want to put the what do you call that? The acorn nut, the cap nut, sorry. Wanted to use correct terminology, I guess you could say. So I want to keep it flowing together. As you can see, these are all exposed on the outside here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and expose it back here as well. Obviously, I'm just tightening everything by hand for now, just to give you guys an idea. All right, so now I got the front on and the top on, and that completes part 2. Next would be, we could either move to the PSU or we could move to the Elite package, which would go on the front. And since we're already at the front area here, let's go ahead and throw the Elite package on there. Obviously, you would put your radiator and fans in first because they will be behind the panel. And this is pretty straightforward how this goes on. It can only go one way. They obviously include some screws for it. The tricky part is lining everything up together. So we'll just go ahead and do like I've been doing, just put a couple screws in there. So I'm going to do probably maybe 3. So I'll go ahead and put the bottom in there then. All right, so now we'll bring it over, line up the screw, get it in there. And we'll just use that screw to hold it for right now. I'm going to go ahead and put another one in it. And we'll put the nut on that. And gravity wants to take my Lazy Susan for a spin, it looks like. You guys ready for automated Lazy Susan? Okay, maybe not. So then we'll put this other one in here. So with the Elite package, what I was provided for it, I didn't see any acorn nuts, so what I'll probably end up doing is making sure that I either, maybe I'll have some leftovers and then I'll put the 5 out here, or I'll just run down to Home Depot or Lowe's and pick some up, so that way we can still get this same aesthetic all the way across. I'd rather have that out here than the washer and the button head. The button heads look good, but I think the acorn nut or the cap nut looks good too. All right, so now that completes our Elite package installation. Now, little explanation. This black piece that I installed is basically a spacer, and the reason it's a spacer is so that way your fans can still get airflow through here. Depending on what position you put your fans in, they still got to get air, or push air out, right? So there's quite a bit of a gap, and as you can see, it's channeled out, so it gives a little bit even extra room. So you probably got about a 1/2 inch of airflow through there, and that's all the way around. It's at the top, it's at the bottom, and the left and the right. So, but being that it's an open air chassis, you could technically exhaust air that way or intake it. It wouldn't really matter. All right, so let's move to the PSU. Okay, so like I said, next step, the PSU shroud and housing assembly. So this would be step 3, which is 3A, B, and C. Okay, so let's go ahead and start assembly. We'll go ahead and put on the power supply mounting bracket actually first. All right, so now we need a different bit here. That would be this one. So we got 3 screws for this piece, or 2 at first. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna just flip this like that and like this. The other good thing is the screws are really good screws. They're not magnetic, but I'm pretty sure they're stainless. So they're pretty durable. They're not going to rust out on you or anything like that. Okay, so what I need to do is to get the correct, since these screws are offset, we need to find out which way they go. And for the most part, I can't remember which way it went, whether this notch goes up or down, because as you can see, these 2 screw holes are off-centered. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of set this up here, right there. And then I'll take this bracket and see where we are. Yeah, so the little corner here goes toward the bottom. So that means it's going to mount like that. Next is the top bracket. And as you can see, the top bracket is actually designed to support 3 SSDs. Unfortunately, not 3.5. It's not technically unfortunate, but for the most part, now SSDs are starting to get higher in capacity. You could actually run, a bunch of 2 terabytes or whatever. And you can add them as you go. You don't need to put them in your system right away. You can add them later down the road. This piece actually just sits right on top like that. But SSDs are not at the capacity of hard drives. So 3.5. 3.5, I think you can get as high as, what, 14 terabyte or something? But being that there's not a lot of space here, 3.5s I don't think were an ideal idea, and they kind of take away from the look. Big silver platter drive with some logo on it that nobody wants to look at. My buddy Peter Brands would take it off. All right, so the last part would be to assemble, well actually there's one more step after this, but don't forget to put this on. Don't think it's super critical unless you're going to ship your PC. So I'm just going to throw it in here to show you guys that I did it. The next part would be the I/O and pump cable cover. All right, so moving on. So this is completely installed, obviously except for one screw. I didn't put it in, doesn't need it right now because we're just doing a basic assembly here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set this right here. I'm going to come around the other side. Go ahead and get these started. We're going to actually try to remember how I did this last time. So I'm going to lift this guy up a little bit. Start this screw here. I just need to get it kind of started. So that way I can go around back and put these two in. So let me go ahead and spin this around. Since I have this turned around here, I wanted to also mention the fact that this does have a little panel that comes off because we talked about the cable management and stuff, and obviously trying to feed the wires in there was not an ideal idea. So they have a cutout here. It's got 4 little screws. This panel actually comes out, and in order to do the PSU insert or housing or whatever, you actually need to take that out. So I'll go ahead and put this on the side panels over here. All right, so now that that's out of the way, we can continue with our PSU shroud installation. So you can just pick it up here. I think I have that installed upside down. So we corrected our little flaw there, flipped it around. Now you can see here, these edges are lined up. So for the most part, I think it should sit almost all the way to the bottom. So if it's all the way just a little past the acrylic on the bottom, then you probably have it in the right direction. All right, so now that's done. Now what we need to do is, I guess, put this back real quick. So step 4 is done. Shrouds and manifold, as you can see, all set up. Now what we need to do is install the posts, which would be step 5. So these would actually go, come around the side here. Up here. So those 2 are installed. Then we got the 2 long ones, which go on the other end. One goes in through here. One goes in up here. As you can see, that solidified the top and front panel too, because I didn't really tighten everything down, but I did that on those. So those are the posts. These 2 are the posts that your window will actually attach to. This over here, we're building up the I/O, where your graphics cards will attach to, and it kind of fills out this area instead of it just being wide open like that. So we're gonna move along. We're on 6 now. So 6, we'll be adding a few things actually. We'll be adding these 2 pieces here. First will be this one here, and it looks like it goes just like that. There, and then obviously we need to put, maybe we assemble this together first. Okay, so I attached these here already, which I just realized that it's not, that doesn't work that way, because you need to thread this into these 2 here. So what you want to do is probably put these 2 in between, because you need all this to go in at basically the same time. So what I'll do here is I'll bring this over, attach these, because these are more just to keep the piece together. All right, so with those being together, I can actually pull this back out and pull this back out. Oh, hold this. And what I'm going to do is hold this up to here. Let's see how it lines up. Kind of start screwing it in. So I'm just screwing in a little bit here, a little bit there. I'm switching between the two posts just to kind of get it going. And then you'll put the little tiny screw. It goes in here in the bottom. All right, so that's that. And then I got two more posts that'll go here. I'm assuming this is for the window. So I'm going to go ahead and go against my better judgment and unwrap this. I usually wouldn't, but I want to show you a complete finished product here. The reason I say it's against my better judgment is usually I don't want a piece of acrylic sitting around that's a finished piece exposed in my shop because of accidents. The last thing I want to have to do is make a new panel because I scratched it or I bumped it or whatever it may be. So I might just wrap it back up when I'm done. So we'll see. Anyways, come on, plastic. Just trying to keep you open. There we go. All right, so now this goes. I'm sorry, camera. I'm trying to work with you here. Like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a couple screws in it. I don't want to do like a full-on mount here. As you can see, it had pre-installed grommets on it already. So there she is. There's our finished Spectre 2.0 with the Elite kit installed. So that's it. We're finished. My thoughts on the case. Fantastic. It is above and beyond any chassis that I've dealt with, being that it's super water cool friendly. It has a built-in reservoir, a pump mount, cable management. I mean, what more could you ask for? I mean, that's what you're paying for, you know, quality. This is top-notch quality here. There's no corners cut in manufacturing or any of that stuff. Yeah, so thanks for watching. Until next time.